Well, howdy, welcome back to the channel. Today I figured I'd give y'all a fall garden tour. So this is actually the very first time that I've ever grown a fall garden. I've never had the space to do it. But this year, this actually used to be a pool, like a above ground pool area. That's why we have such a high fence. But I figured it'd be a perfect opportunity to put a garden here since we got rid of the pool. So I'm going to take y'all along with me and just kind of show you what I'm growing this year. Kind of give y'all ideas, and then leave down in the comments what y'all are growing this fall. Okay, so in the first row, we have collard greens. I have quite a few plants going down the road, as you can tell. A lot of people use this for chicken feed, but down here in the south, collard greens are like a staple. We eat these. If you watch my top 5 prepper crop video, which you'll see that's what I was talking about is collards. So these are actually very good. But yeah, I have quite a few plants of those. Okay guys, so what's up next is my jalapeno plants. These I've actually been growing since the beginning of summer. It's still pretty warm here, so these still are doing good and still producing. I actually have 2 half rows of these, so pretty much a whole row of jalapeno peppers. I just keep these here because, like I said, it's warm enough, and we love jalapenos, so. Okay, so next we have is our 4 okra plants. These are starting to kind of get affected by the cooler weather. Not as producing as much, not as big. It may just be if you need to fertilize them or something like that, but we've got so much out of this, out of just 4 plants, it's quite crazy. But here's the okra blossoms. These are some of the pretty flowers. And there's an okra right there. Like it's ready to pick yet. But so here's those, and like I said, those are the jalapenos. So we'll move on to the next row. Okay, so this row I'm not going to really explain. These are just old tomato plants I've been growing all summer. They're pretty much done for the season. I just haven't pulled them up yet, so I'm not going to go over this row because this row's tomatoes. But in this next row here, I have 3 spinach plants, 5 kale plants, and then I'm trying broccoli this year. So we'll see how that turns out. But so far, these are getting pretty big, so I'm excited about them, and then we'll move down to the next row. Okay guys, so for this next row, this is one of my favorite rows, and this is all Blackeyed Peas. If you've never had Blackeyed Peas before, I'd really encourage you to try them. They're, once again, another southern staple. If you live down here in the south, you probably know all about these. So, we don't really eat them green, some people do, but most of the time you wait until the pods have dried out. So like this one right here. This is pretty dry, it's not fully dry, but it's dry enough, I think. I'll open this up and then show you all what's inside of it. Okay, so there you go, and as you can see, now you know why they're called Black-eyed peas. They all have black eyes. But this is typically when you wait for them to dry, and then we eat these, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, things like that. And they're very, very good. Like I said, we usually don't eat them, at least we don't. I don't know about other people, but we usually don't eat them green. But you totally can. We have done it before, just to see what they tasted like, and they kind of resemble the taste of boiled peanuts, if you've ever had those. But as you can tell, I mean, they're just super prolific. They're everywhere on here, so this is definitely one of my favorite things to grow. I mean, any kind of bean is really my favorite thing to grow, but, oh man, here's a really dry one. Catch. I mean, they just break open. There's tons of them. Okay, so here's one of the I call this the miscellaneous row. This really just like plants that I get from friends and stuff that I don't have a lot of, and I didn't expect to get. I'll put them in this row, and so this is kind of a row of everything. Right here we have a Scotch Bonnet pepper. These are, I think it was like 40 times hotter than a jalapeno, so they're very hot. I like to dehydrate them and then turn them into a powder. That's what I'm doing right now. This is more collard greens. I just put these here because I had an extra plant. And this guy right here, this is actually, I've never seen one of these before, but it resembles a hibiscus flower. So the flowers only emerge in fall time, so we're getting close. As you can see the little bud right there. I got tons of those popping up everywhere. And they're gonna almost be like a rubbery flower. I don't know if you can tell here, but I can already tell. You know, it looks pretty rubbery. It kind of looks fake. But this thing was a very small plant. You can just tell how thick the stalk is right here, but it was about this size when I got it, and that was earlier this year. And I just planted it just a few months ago. And you can see how big it's gotten just over those few months. But this is typically a perennial. That's why I asked the person who gave this to me, is this a perennial? Because if it's a perennial, I don't want to put it in the garden because, you know, I don't want to take up space, especially look how ginormous it is. But he said because here in Georgia, it's not, we're not like tropical temperatures. It's usually a perennial, but in our weather, it still gets too cold for it to actually live that long, or to live a few years. So this actually is just an annual here in Georgia. But if you're in a warmer temperature, I guess like Florida or something like that, or even south from that, it's a perennial. So I'm very interested to see what these flowers look like, and maybe I'll do a short video of what these end up looking like. I'm very interested. So I want to kind of give you an example of what a Scotch Bonnet pepper looks like. Like I said, these are like 40 times hotter than a jalapeno, so very hot, but they're pretty peppers. Here's a young one that's still green, so they ripen orange. I don't know if they ripen another color, I'm not sure. I haven't made it that far. I always pick them when they're orange, but that's a Scotch Bonnet. Okay, so here's the last thing I want to show you. This is not a fall crop, obviously, but I wanted to show you all this. I've been growing this now for 3 years. This is actually a grapefruit tree. My mom loves grapefruits, so we wanted to be able to produce our own, so I just took a seed from a store-bought grapefruit, planted it in the ground. 3 years later, here's the size of it. I mean, obviously it's not huge, but it gets bigger and bigger each and every year. So, and this guy over here is actually a lemon tree that I had bought, but this guy actually grew from seed, which was very fun to do and fun to see it grow each and every year. So, well guys, that was it for the fall tour. It may look very shaded, and in the summertime, you know, August and July, this has got sun all day, but we have gigantic pine trees lined up here, and the sun is behind them during the fall and winter time, because as the sun starts to go down, the trees start to block it. But normally this would get sun, you know, for 5 or 6 hours in the summer. It does get full sun for maybe an hour or two during the fall time, but most of these crops that I have in here are not a full sun crop, other than the peppers, but they seem to be doing okay with it. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Please, once again, please leave in the comments what you guys like to grow during the fall time, and I'll catch you on the next video.